What you're saying is the Giants are probably going to be the team that cause chaos in this draft. They're going to be the big movers.
It's all going to come down to their ownership, really, because I hate when the ownership puts coaches and GMs in this situation. It's like they know they're going to get fired if they don't do something huge. Um, so they're gonna move heaven and earth and do whatever it takes to get the top quarterback. They're in play for Aaron Rodgers. So if they get Rodgers, I don't know what happens.
I'm sorry, Lucas. I have to say something here. You got to stop rubbing your beard on this mic.
Sorry about that. That's why you were looking. I knew. I was
all
like,
in my ears right now. All I hear is this guy. I'm trying to figure out what this fuzziness is, and I just look over, and this dude's rubbing his beard all over this mic. That was crazy.
That's kind of nice.
That was crazy. All right, back to the draft. Welcome back to another episode of the B Team. We got Mikey over here. Mikey, give him another wave. Give him a wave.
What's up, y'all?
We have a good one today. The man, the myth, the legend, the yearly episodes have begun with our guy, the
Lukas Berry.
Come on. Come on.
Welcome back, Lucas.
The household Bears fan right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, the resident Bears fan. Feels good to be a Bears fan for once, but I'm still not thrilled.
Oh, here we go, Lucas. Yeah.
You guys followed me on Twitter. You see how down I am on the Bears, and like I hate Ryan Poles.
You do hate Ryan Poles. He reminds me of Douglas. I think I've said this for years now. Like, he has the right idea, but I feel like the players that he's just bringing in is just not.
The execution is terrible. That's what it is. Yeah.
Definitely. So I was looking at the free agency signings. We'll get into that first, obviously. But so you brought in Joe Thuney.
Traded a 2026 fourth rounder for Joe Thuney.
That's fair. That's fine. But you're going to play him at guard, I'm assuming. He's not going to
have to. Yeah. Yep. He's one of the best guards in the NFL still.
True. And then you brought in the guy from the Rams,
I believe.
Jonah Jackson.
Jackson.
Six round pick.
Yes, I saw that 6th-round pick. So is he an immediate starter? Is that more of a depth signing?
But so obviously Ben Johnson had a lot of influence on those decisions. Ben Johnson played or coached Jonah Jackson in Detroit, where he achieved a faux Pro Bowl. It was the Mitch Trubisky Pro Bowl where he got in because like 3 guys opted out and he made the Pro Bowl. He had a decent year though, and he was pretty good there. He went to the Rams, completely fell on his face. They gave him a huge deal. He only played 4 games there and then got hurt. Rookie stole his job and he never came back.
Mm. Oh, congratulations, by the way, for Ben Johnson being the Chicago Bears head coach.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a winner.
I will say the Bears organization is doing everything they can to change their perception as a cheap organization. They paid the man the bag and they rolled out the red carpet for him.
Yeah, as they should.
It was nice to see him want the job, but like they also gave him the money he wanted too.
Yeah, definitely. That was, I mean, he had his eyes set on Chicago for pretty much even when he was with Detroit. I mean, especially when you get a guy like Caleb sitting there who needs the guidance and he needs to be taught how to actually play well enough in the NFL. Like, dude, that Ben Johnson is perfect for him. I'm excited for them. Like, I was excited for them last year, but this year upcoming, you guys are going to make good moves. The draft's coming up. Obviously, free agency starting tomorrow. So, if they play their cards right, if Ryan Poles can execute, which he hasn't, but if he can.
Yeah, and I think you guys have been going out and doing what you're supposed to do, which is get that O-line in order. I think you made some good moves right off the bat. You got to protect Caleb Williams.
Yeah,
you can't have that kid's running around getting hammered.
My hang-up, right, like Mike said, I think people appreciate Ryan Poles because he has the right idea. Yeah. My thing is, like, with the Jonah Jackson trade, I understand it because the Bears are absolutely desperate. But Ryan Poles went out there and kind of badmouthed Tevin Jenkins for a few years about not being available and that kind of stuff. You're basically replacing him with the same exact type of player he misses a ton of games. He's super inconsistent. And it's just like, you can't say this about one guy and then bring in this other guy. And not only that, the Rams were about to cut Jonah Jackson and he gave them a 6th-round pick and ate his full contract.
Yeah.
Yes, the Bears have the picks and the money to do it. That doesn't mean you go out and do it. Now, again, the idea is correct. You need to protect Caleb. As a fan, for me, that's like, I'll give that an A+. From an objective standpoint about your GM getting bent over the barrel for bad, like, how do you take on the whole contract when the Rams were going to cut the dude?
Yeah. That is a tough look.
He's making more money than Joe Thuney is. Let that sink in. He's making $17.5 million guaranteed to play right guard, and Joe Tooney's making $16 million, and he's a 4-time All-Pro player with 4 freaking Super Bowls.
Yeah. Oh,
Joe Tooney's a freaking Hall of Famer. He's going to make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Now, what other moves do you see Chicago making in free agency upcoming?
Tomorrow, you're going to see them probably pay significantly more than you could ever imagine for Drew Dalman, who, again, good player. They need a center. They haven't had a center in years. This wouldn't be an issue if Ryan Poles actually addressed it in one of the most loaded center classes ever last year, but he didn't. So I can almost guarantee you they will sign Drew Dalman. Drew Dalman is a good player. He's not a great player. He's a league average center. They're going to give him 4 years at probably 17 to 20 million a year.
Yeah, I could see that. Now, if we're just talking about
Another guy that missed a ton of games too.
Yeah. I mean, but the thing is that when he does play, he usually is pretty good. Like, even the Falcons' O-line, we talked about this before, like, they got some good players there. I know they're probably going to bring Lindstrom back. But what do you think, if we're talking about free agency, the quarterbacks, everything else, what are the dominoes that need to fall right off the bat? And, like, what's going to continue after that? Like, what is the biggest domino, in your opinion?
It's tough. So this is honestly probably the worst free agent class I can remember. But there's so many desperate teams for quarterbacks. I mean, the Raiders trade for Gino was interesting.
Mhm.
I don't know if I would be doing that with. It's just a weird organization.
Yeah, that was a strange move.
Sam Darnold, I think, will control the free agent quarterback market. I assume he's going to go to Seattle if they were willing to trade Gino, but I don't know.
Yeah, and it's weird because I'm seeing things at Seattle. They're interested in Aaron Rodgers. Now you got DK sitting there, and he's in limbo because he wants out, but he also wants to see who you're going to bring at quarterback. You know, they're trying to make your star wide receiver happy while at the same time move your franchise forward in a way that's going to improve it and put you in a position to win in a very tough division. You know, I don't know if Sam Darnold is the best option for Seattle right now if you want to win. I know Mike's going to hate that, but if you want to win, I'm not sure Sam Darnold is that guy. I think Gino Smith, you're just getting another Gino Smith. So if you didn't believe in Gino, why would you believe in Sam?
Yeah.
I think I agree with
Close.
you. I think
close. Definitely.
yeah, most of the time I would say Gino is the better quarterback as of late.
I feel like they just needed to cut the cord, Seattle. Like, I feel like Seattle's been in this limbo of like 9-7. Just, I don't know. They didn't even make the playoffs. Like, Gino obviously wasn't going to take you that far enough. Like, at least they got something in return for him. Like, they could have just, I don't know, obviously cut him and would have gotten any action. But I think DK, like, dude, do you really want to pay him? What does he demand? You said, what, $30 million?
So that's another thing. DK Metcalf,
I'm not paying that.
You already released Tyler Lockett. And now DK wants out. They lowered the asking price down from what was a crazy first and third round pick.
Okay.
That was insane for DK Metcalf. They lowered it to a second round pick, but DK still wants, his demands are warm weather and $30 million a year.
So weird, dude. It's like not the type of guy that can be demanding that. Like, I like DK Metcalf, but like when you talk about like the upper echelon of receivers, he's not that.
Definitely.
No.
Yep.
But that's where Seattle, you know, they actually might have bigger issues than just quarterback. Because if Sam Darnold does go there, all right, who's he going to throw to? They have no weapon. There's no weapons there. I know you got JSN, but if he's the only guy you're worried about, that's not very good.
They'll
for
bring
Sam
in some
Darnold.
people. I think they'll utilize the draft very heavily for receivers. But
I think wide receiver rooms are kind of easy to overhaul. I don't know. My thing about Gino is just like, you can't do that unless you think you have a backup plan like ready to come in. So if they weren't going to go full court press on Sam Darnold / already know they're going to sign him, I don't know what they're going to do.
yeah, I feel like they attack free agency. I don't know.
Like
By the way, Daniel Jones just signed back with the Vikings, 2 years, $20 million.
2
All right,
years,
yeah.
20
So
mil.
Sam Darnold's gone.
Yeah, he's gone.
Sam Darnold's gone.
So I'm just saying, unless they know, like, but in Seattle's case, like, are they guaranteed to get him, or is he going to test the Jets? Is he going to test the Steelers? Like, I don't know.
He won't be testing the Jets, I know that, unfortunately. But I think if we're talking about, we said this before, like, for some reason, I feel like the Colts makes a lot of sense because I just don't think they're going to rock with AR, and I don't think they want to rock with AR. Like, they need to get someone in there and compete, and I think it'd be a good place for Darnold. Am I saying they're going to do it? Probably not. But Seattle's in a weird spot because obviously in the draft, I mean, you can go day 2 and get a guy, but they need someone now. And I feel like Darnold would make a lot of sense for them, especially West Coast guy. I don't know. It depends on what he's going to be asking for. Like, it's that price his price tag. Like, are teams willing to pay that after what they just saw? I don't know.
I don't think. What do you think he'll get per year? 30?
I'm thinking like
30
high
40.
20s, like low 30s is my guess.
Yeah, I think high 20s would be a steal for him, actually.
Yeah.
I think so too.
And it's crazy too, because like Mike McDonald's been doing some weird stuff in Seattle. Like they hired Ryan Grubb, he fired him after a year. I don't. You're right. They don't really have like an identity. They don't have a clear path forward. That's a weird organization. They're in a awkward spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now let's pivot here. So obviously we had probably one of the biggest non-QB contracts in history with Myles Garrett.
What followed it up with another?
Yeah, and then follow it up with Max Crosby, or I think it was
Max Crosby, then Myles Garrett, but now we're gonna have to follow it up with probably Micah Parsons. It's insane.
Yeah, so I look at this as like, when the Jags, who did they pay, bro? Was it Christian Kirk? They just gave him a massive bag for absolutely no reason.
They cut him now.
And then they traded him away, and then they traded him, and then now you're kind of having the same ordeal with the Browns giving him. Yeah, and by the way, Myles Garrett, I don't know if you saw his like letter to the fans, like requesting a trade. Yeah. He's like, I don't want to be complacent. Like, I want to win a championship. But, hey, if $123 million is going to be guaranteed, why not do it in Cleveland? So, yeah, he's back in Cleveland. Massive, massive, massive contract. But, listen, the dude is a monster. He deserves it all, in my opinion. But that is going – that's going to set the DN market now to a really high price. And especially with Micah he's going to have to get paid now. Jerry Jones been waiting, twiddling his thumbs. He's gonna demand a lot.
See, I don't know that he will, though.
I think 40's the floor.
I think Micah Parsons, when you look at what the Cowboys did over the last month, you have CD and Dak restructure. You have, $60 million in cap space opened up. Micah Parsons restructuring or getting a new deal is not going to affect that cap space because he's already in the cap space, right? His number's already in there. It's going to go up, but it's not going to affect it the way that some of these Eagles fans think it's going to affect it. Morons. But I think Osa being signed, phenomenal. Micah Parsons is going to get his money. You just take honestly, I think you get him as close to Myles Garrett as you can. I don't know that you pay him more than Myles Garrett just got. I don't know if we can afford that at this moment, but I think you try and get him close to that. And Micah, he's already spoken out about how he doesn't have to be that highest paid guy, although he probably should be.
Of course.
I think he'd be willing to take I say smaller, but it's still going to be fucking massive.
Yeah.
But a smaller deal just to stay with the Cowboys and see what we can do this year. Because, I mean, if we're going all in, this is the most all in that we can get. Because when you look at next year's cap space, we are royally fucked. Dak Prescott is
like
going to take
Saints royally fucked?
Oh, we're not going to be able to sign anybody next year. No, I don't know if you heard my Saints take, but I think they should try and get as close to $1 billion in negative cap space and see what Roger does. I think that would be hilarious. But the Cowboys, they're going to be in a very tough situation next year. I mean, I think this is the year. I think you get Micah signed. I think Garrett kind of fucked us.
Who?
Myles Garrett.
Oh, definitely. No, the Browns fucked you and Myles Garrett.
I was in such a good headspace, Lucas, and then this deal happened yesterday, and my headspace has gone into a spiral.
Bad timing. It's such bad
I'm
timing.
all over the place.
Well, the Cowboys, they do wait way too late for everything. So that is on them. But I hear you with some of these ridiculous contracts. The one I'll push back on is I'll say Myles Garrett deserves every cent of that contract.
Definitely.
100%.
Definitely.
So the Browns are dumb for everything else they do, but paying him $40 million should have been an easy decision for the only thing that fans have to cling on to there. So, I don't know. What do you think about the whole Cowboys coaching cycle and how it went down and who they hired?
So we're gonna have to clip this at the beginning of next season.
The floor is yours.
I've gone from highs of highs to lows of lows with this. Schottenheimer, when it first got announced, I thought that Jerry Jones should be kicked out of America. But I've actually come around to this, and I like what he's done on the coaching staff. I like that Dak and the boys really like Schottenheimer. I like that Schottenheimer's been the one working with Dak for the last, 40. He's been the guy in Dak's ear. It was never Mike McCarthy. It was always Schottenheimer. He was the one that was in Dak's ear, getting that offense clicking. And, if Dak is to get back to that MVP level, I don't know if there's anyone better than Schottenheimer to be there for him. So I think Schottenheimer's earned this. But if you look at his track record, I think he's earned the right. Yeah, he's earned the right to have this moment. Now it comes at probably the toughest moment of all time that he could do it on this certain team with the Cowboys. But I think that he's a good coach and can get it done. I think Eberflus, I know you have your own opinion of him. I think when he only has to focus on the defense, I think he can be very good. He was Yeah. The boys, they're not going to say anything negative in the press, but it's been very positive, like scary positive, where my expectations have risen to, I think we should be back in the NFC Championship game. Does that answer your question?
I love NFC East football, man. It's always a dogfight, and the Commanders are one of my new enemy number one, so go trample them guys, please.
Welcome to the club. Hate them.
Dude, the fans are just like, they got one taste of success, and they are crazy. It's like, I didn't even know you guys had fans.
They take over one Hard Rock in a city that doesn't even like Hard Rock, and they think they run this place. It's honestly insane I don't know what goes through their head.
You do hate Commanders fans.
I do hate them. I hate the team.
Brutal, dude, brutal. They beef a lot with Bears fans now too over the whole Caleb Jaden thing, and then the Hail Mary. Like, I was at the Hail Mary game, and it was insane how much like trash talking they were doing. It was actually nuts.
Man, well, actually, speaking of last year's draft, let's get into this year's draft, because I was looking at your draft board. I know you came out with your first mock. We don't have to get into your mock right now because I know that thing's going to change.
Dude, it changed as soon as I posted it, and like more news came out. I was just like, oh shit, I got to shuffle this around.
Yeah, so I want to start off with what do you think is going to happen at that first pick? Is there going to be chaos at that pick? Will it be straightforward for the Titans? What do you think the Titans should do with that first pick?
It's crazy you asked me this today, because my opinion of this will change today depending on what happens in free agency. What I think the Titans should do is, I think they need to land Abdul Carter no matter what it costs. So if they trade back to 2, ideally, I would say Titans trade back to 2 with the Browns. Browns move up one spot, get Cam Ward, and the Titans still get Carter. The situation that right now in my head I think is more likely to happen is the Giants give them way too much to move up to 1 because they are absolutely desperate. And then the Browns take Abdul Carter, and then it's just like, I don't know. Like, if you're the Titans, I wouldn't be looking. I think Travis Hunter's really good. I don't know if he's exact. I guess the Titans need everything, but like, Abdul Carter is going to be significantly more game-changing than Travis Hunter for them.
No, I agree with that. I think Abdul Carter is someone that no matter where he goes, whoever gets him, it's changing your whole culture. Defensively, like he's a game wrecker. So I think if he's there at 1, I think you have to take him.
Yeah, so to answer your question, I would try and trade back to 2, but I would not trade back out of Abdul Carter range. And if the Giants was my only hope of doing that, I would just take Carter at 1.
No, that makes sense. Makes sense. So you think what you're saying is the Giants are probably going to be the team that cause chaos in this draft. They're going to be the big movers.
It's all going to come down to their ownership, really, because I hate when the ownership puts coaches and GMs in this situation. It's like they know they're going to get fired if they don't do something huge. So they're going to move heaven and earth and do whatever it takes to get the top quarterback. They're in play for Aaron Rodgers. So if they get Rodgers, I don't know what happens.
I'm sorry, Lucas. I have to say something here. You got to stop rubbing your beard on this mic.
Sorry about that. That's why you were looking at it. I knew. I was
all in my ears right now. All I hear is this guy. I'm trying to figure out what this fuzziness is, and I just look over, and this dude's rubbing his beard all over this mic. That was crazy.
That's kind of nice.
That was crazy. All right, back to the draft. I agree with you what you're saying about the Giants. I think it's ridiculous that, Daboll's expected to somehow be getting this team into Super Bowl contention when he's having his GM and owner. They're trading away Saquon Barkley and key players. They're drafting horribly. I don't know what Daboll's supposed to do with this team.
I don't know. I've also never really been a huge fan of him, so I just think they need to blow that entire thing up. But yeah, maybe Daboll's better than I think. But regardless, ownership is putting them in a terrible position with where they're at now. And they're basically saying, if you don't win this year, we're going to fire you. But also, we took away your best player. We signed Daniel Jones all this money previously, and now you don't have a quarterback. So, like, figure it out.
Yeah, and the thing is, too, like, when you look at these top 3 teams, like, they are, like, we've had this conversation last week. Like, even if they do go and get their guy, I don't think it's making that much of a difference right off the bat. It's not going to make a difference in 2 years. It's not going to be like Jaden Daniels in Washington. It's going to be 3 or 4 years down the line. Then they need a new contract. It's like, do you really want to take that on? Especially where the Giants, okay, they got neighbors, they got other players, a decent defense, but like the Titans, like you got to fill out so many holes on your team. Like, why get a guy, pay him the $20 million a year, and then not even win? Like, well, what are you really building for? You know? So it is big on the Giants. I don't know what they do. I feel like they're really high in Shador, but
dude, I think they're going to get Rodgers though. If they get Rodgers, all bets are off.
I mean, listen, I think they should go free agency route for quarterback, Rodgers, Darnold, whoever, because that would be so much better for them, because then they could take a Milroe or a Kyle McCord later in the draft, and then, I don't know, draft Travis Hunter. Like, dude, why not?
So I was going to say that's a really fun pick that I really like. Like, if they got Rodgers and they added Travis Hunter to like spotlight wide receiver with Malik Neighbors, and then also play corner, which they need corners desperately, and they need another receiver across from Neighbors. That would be an awesome. And that's like an ultimate all-in move. Like, we need to win as many games as we can this year type deal. So I would personally like to see that happen, because I think that's a really fun fit.
Mm-hmm. And that's a really good player too. Like, you're not that's a guy that's going to be there for a long time.
I just like with the Titans, it's like, I don't know. The edge rusher is just so much more important than and their corners aren't bad in Tennessee either. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, and especially like you got Jeffrey Simmons, like he's getting a little bit older too. Like their line is definitely aging a bit. So getting a guy like Abdul would be absolutely key. But let me ask you real quick about Travis Hunter. How do you see him like working out in the NFL? Like, because I want to know your thoughts on this. Like, do you think he's going to play receiver? Do you think he's going to play corner? Is he going to play both 100%? Like, what do you think?
I think he's going to play both, but I think it really will depend where he lands and what coach has him. I know some teams are really high on him at receiver, but I would say more would argue that corner is probably harder to find, like an elite cornerback. And his movement skills are just so, like, he's such a good pure athlete. You could probably argue that he's the top corner and top receiver in this class. I don't know if he is, but he's definitely top 3 in each at least. But yeah, I would say he's probably primarily going to play corner and then get 20 or so snaps at wide receiver per game. Maybe he plays more than that. I don't know. The NFL is insane, man. You take a beating, and if you're playing both sides of the ball is unheard of.
Like, your conditioning is off the charts if you're doing both sides of the ball in the NFL.
Like Ohtani pitching and hitting. It's not the same. It's like you're getting the shit beat out of you on every single play. Like, you can't do that.
Now with the defense, because this is very intriguing, because this is a big defensive class here. The linebackers and the edge rushers are very, like, I feel like besides Abdul Carter, like that whole mix is the same. It is a fun class, but I feel like a lot of them, like, they're in the same tier. Like, one guy has a lot of upside, another guy has a lot of upside, but obviously off the field, I don't know. But what do you think of this DN class? And are there any guys that you would highlight to maybe watch, like a name to watch out for?
Yeah, so I would say like this DN class is really a lot of, like, obviously Abdul Carter is the best DN edge rusher in this class, and it's not even close. He's almost like a surefire, sure thing to be really good in the NFL. A lot of these other guys are a lot of projection. So, no matter who you take, it's going to be about team fit and how you kind of project them in your defense. So, it wouldn't surprise me if some team had Mike Green higher on their board than some of these other guys. A guy that I really like that I think a lot of people guess I don't know. I don't know why a lot of people don't like him. I love Mykel Williams from Georgia though. Um, really young kid. He's been starting there since he's been 18 years old, and everyone will be like, "Oh, well, you look at his stats. He's only had 3 or 4 sacks every year." Every single UGA player that comes out of that system, they don't put up big numbers. It's because they rotate them, they play them out of position, and they just play them how they need to play them to win games. So Mykel Williams, if you watch his tape, a lot of it they kick him inside, and he's playing D tackle basically. And you're like, when he's on the edge, you can see him flash at edge. And you're just like, full time in the NFL projection. I absolutely love Mykel Williams. If you go watch some of his games against Kelvin Banks, he gave Kelvin Banks the business when they played Texas. But yeah, just go back and look at Jalen Carter's stats. He had 3, 4 sacks a year. Nolan Smith, 3, 4 sacks a year. Travon Walker, same thing. He kind of reminds me of a Travon Walker type player where I think he needs to fill out his frame a little bit and work on some of his moves. His bull rush is nasty. He's stout against the run. I think his floor just is really high because he's a good run defender and has a high motor. But he kind of reminds me of Travon Walker, where I think in 2 years he's a 10+ sack a year guy.
No, I agree with you 100%. Kyle, you got any?
People, I don't know. They just don't like him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of just not liking certain draft prospects, how big is the gap of Shador and Cam Ward to every other quarterback? Because the mainstream media would love to make you think that it's huge, but I don't think that's the case because we've talked about it a number of times. Jackson Dart, we love Jackson Dart. I think Jalen Milroe's got tools that if in the right situation, he could be successful. I think Kyle McCord in the right situation could be very successful. You know, the kid from Louisville, Tyler. Yeah, he shot up boards. You know, how big is that gap in actual reality?
Are you saying between Cam Ward and Shador versus Shador in the field?
So Shador and Cam Ward versus the field. Because they've made it seem like those two are the only quarterbacks worth taking this draft, and the rest of them are, you know, career second.
To me, I think I don't even think Cam Ward is like this phenomenal prospect, but I think he's worlds better than Shador. And I think the gap between Cam Ward and Shador is bigger than the gap between Shador and the next level of prospects you're talking about.
Yeah,
he might fall.
I would have to agree.
Shador might fall. I don't see him going top 3.
There's a lot of bad press about him, and a lot of it is just how he carries himself. Like, he carries himself kind of super arrogant. He's Deion's kid. It's like what you expect. But it's also like, I don't know. He hasn't really earned the right to act like that. Like, I don't know.
We've said a number of times, like, what did he actually accomplish at Colorado? Like, what accomplishments, like team accomplishments, did he win? He didn't lead his team to anything. They didn't win anything. So what can he possibly talk about? At least Cam Ward was in the conversation for like the Heisman. He was in the conversation to win the ACC with his team. They came up a game short. You know, Colorado, they weren't really ever considered to be close to that competition.
No, and they did. And the thing that I guess is also not working in his favor is, to be very fair, like Colorado's offensive line was absolutely horrible. So he was getting crushed. And I will give him credit. He's super tough, and I think NFL teams will like that. But he kind of reminds me of Tua in a sense where he's like super, super accurate, but like the arm strength isn't there. I don't know how, like, I don't know. He probably doesn't have as quick of a release as Tua, but like that type of quarterback where you kind of see like a limited upside just because he doesn't have that game-changing arm and he's not like this phenomenal athlete. So it's like, yeah. I guess in the right system, you can coach him up and he can be a league average quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I kind of agree with you there because it's, you know, where he was projected to be drafted at maybe like a month ago. What team in that top 5 pick scenario has a good line? The reason they're there is because their quarterback can't play for the most part because there's no line. So you're going to take a kid who couldn't produce wins with no line and put him behind no line? That makes no sense to me. That's where like this, it boggles my mind that Shador is in this conversation because he hasn't even proven he could play with no line. So we're going to send him to the Giants? That is, you're sending a kid to die, essentially, by sending him to the Giants. That is the dumbest thing ever. You're laughing, but it's true. He knows it's true. The Shador Sanders would die there. Cam Ward at least has a chance because he's more athletic and can get away.
Absolutely. I'm agreeing with you, bro. But the way you said no line, it was just hilarious. You threw out like 4 no lines in like a minute. It was great.
I guess to your point though, Colin, it's just like you can take Shador, but also a lot of those guys in the second round, you're banking on the same thing. Like you're banking on him developing into something more than he was in college, basically.
Yeah.
So like
No,
if you're
that's
gonna do that,
fair.
don't waste the top 5 pick on him. Spend the top 5 pick in the second round on him, on one of those other guys or whatever. I agree with you. I don't know. The hype is there, but some team will take him. Some team's gonna take him. It's really just it is what it is.
Yeah, and I think there's a difference when you take a quarterback in, that 3rd or 4th round. And sure, like, if a Jackson Dart falls there and you take him, yeah, there's expectations for Jackson Dart based on what he's done the last couple months, what he did at Ole Miss. He's expected to come in and be pushing for a starting job. But, you're taking him in the 3rd or 4th round for a reason. If he was really going to be your starter and you wanted him to be your starter, you would take him in the 1st or 2nd round. That's just my way of thinking about it. I mean, I know it's different for every organization and what they need, but I think if you're waiting until the 4th or 5th round to take a quarterback, it's not that big a need. Mm-hmm. When in reality, it should be the biggest need.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, I don't know. And again, it sounds like if Shador does have some like really nice throws on his tape and stuff. Again, it's just like to me, you're projecting something more than he was in college in your system. And like you said, when he has a better line, how much better is he? I don't know.
You don't know.
Because one of his big thing is like, I don't know if this is a bad habit that can be fixed, but like his line was so bad, you'll see him just like he drifts a lot in the pocket. Like with a better line, is he still going to be doing that? 'Cause it's a horrible habit he learned just because he didn't want to get killed. Like, I don't know.
Oh, that's going to be an interesting one.
The one thing I will say, I do think he has the intangibles of being super tough and probably a pretty good leader. I will say that. You put him in your locker room, I think other guys would like him a lot.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Are you high on any of these like day 2, day 3 quarterbacks more than another one? Like again, like we love Jackson Dart.
I like Jackson Dart a lot. I think Tyler Shuck is really interesting.
Me too.
I don't know. I just as a whole, this quarterback class is
it's so up in the air.
Makes me sick, man.
Yeah, like the last couple of years, like I feel like we had a grasp on most of these quarterbacks, but this year, even Cam Ward, like, is he going to be the guy that we all are saying he's going to be? We don't know.
He's a hard projection, man. He is.
I
don't know how to describe him. He's nuts, dude. He just like the arm talent is crazy, but like that dude will just like he won't even set his base. He'll just fucking fling the ball. And he has like the strongest arm, and I just like, how did he just throw that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm a Miami fan. Watching that week after week, I mean, it's heart attacks constantly. So I feel bad for whoever actually does get him in this draft. But, man, is it exciting. It's a fun watch.
It is fun. And you can see, like, that's the type of guy where you can maybe project that he'll be better in the pros or maybe he'll be way worse just because his arm is so nuts. Like, if a coach can rein him in a little bit, yeah, he'll probably be a very, very good quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Lucas, so I'm assuming you've done a lot of the research on like offensive players. Like, have you started with defense or offense for prospects?
I've been looking at a lot of, I mean, obviously before the Bears did all the their trade acquisitions, I've been really deep into the offensive line. It was actually funny, not to go too far from the tangent, like when I first did my mock and I sent you Membu, dude, I was like, dude, this guy's really good. You got to check him out. And then like, I feel like the next day or two, it was probably at the, like, I don't know. Everyone was talking about him. That I'm just like,
yeah.
I was on this guy like a month ago, and now my hopes and dreams of him are gone because they just took his name and ran. Like, they're just like, this guy's the top offensive tackle in the class.
Bro, literally, I was watching the combine, and I think he was running the 40, and he was just like screaming his ass off. He's like, ah! And I'm like, I want him. Like, dude, the Jets take him. I'm happy. It was like pretty wild to see. I think he ran like a 4.95, something like that too. Yeah, like that's impressive, man. Yeah, I feel like this is a really strange offensive line class because a lot of them have dealt with a lot of injuries, and they're not all based in like SEC schools in a way. Like you got a lot of guys, like you got what's the dude, Gray Zabel from North Dakota State. Like he's a highly touted guy. You got the guy from Georgia,
Fairchild.
I don't know if it's fair. I don't know. But the Booker from, Tate Ratledge. Yep. Booker, Calvin Banks. Like, I feel like the gap is just so different with all of these guys. Like and even if you're getting a clear number one guy like in the O-line positional group, like, well, is he a Joe Alt, like you were saying before? Is he gonna be a guy like, I don't know, a Quentin Nelson? Like, I feel like we don't have that this year. We usually do every single year.
Yeah, it's the same thing I told you about the edges, except there's no Abdul Carter on the offensive line in this class. It's like my first offensive tackle could be way different than yours or another team's. Like, it's just pick your poison. Certain guys or certain organizations will have certain traits they like. So, like, arm length will be a big thing for a lot of them. Certain organizations won't even draft you if your arms aren't long enough. So, like, how many boards is Will Campbell on because of that? Some teams might have him as the top left tackle. They might not care. Other teams might be like, no, he's got to play guard. So all that comes into consideration. But yeah, this class is all over the place.
Do you think he goes top 10, Will Campbell? You think he goes to the Patriots?
I think he'll go top 10. I don't know. I thought he would be a perfect Mike Vrabel fit. I don't know. Membu might have passed him just from his combine alone, which I'm not always a fan of.
Of course.
Will Campbell is very much a Mike Vrabel kind of prototype.
Dude, he like almost tore his ACL at the combine. I don't know if you were watching any of those drills. I was at work watching. And I see it was like the one shuffle drill where obviously you have the guy just like directing you where to go, and his leg just gave out, and I'm like, oh no! Like, imagine, like, I thought that was the case, but luckily it wasn't. But I don't know. I feel like this year has been super fun for like the receivers and the running backs. I know, and I don't think we've ever seen anything like this where there's not just, I don't know, 3 stud guys right off the bat, but you can get guys in day 3 that could be pushing the needle to start on your team.
This running back class reminds me of that wide receiver class that had like Debo, AJ Brown.
Yeah.
I think Justin Jefferson was in the first round of that class. Like, it was the most insane class I've ever seen in my life, and it was just like you had guys go in 3rd, 4th, 5th round who are up just like stars now. That's what this running back class reminds me of. It's just so loaded. I did see your take, Muller. Travion Henderson. I love that dude. That I want the Bears to draft him in the 2nd round. I see Ben Johnson using him like Jameer, like
Gibbs.
He reminds me of Gibbs. I hate to say it. He's like Walmart version of Gibbs right now. But if they rein him in, dude, oh my God.
I think we've had the LeBron James effect with Henderson because when he was a freshman at Ohio State, I believe he was in the top 3 in rushing yards that year, maybe top 3 in touchdowns as a true freshman. And we almost got too normalized that Henderson was just a really good running back. And he didn't get talked about a lot last year because he had Judkins with him. And you look at LeBron, he didn't win MVPs all those years because people got bored of it. So it started going to other places when in reality he was the MVP. I think Henderson is still probably the best running back, and he will. When we look back at this class, I think Henderson in 5 years will be the best running back in this class. And that's me. I still want Genty on the Cowboys.
So I'm not saying so. All right. Before the show, Mike asked me for a hot take. I don't know if this is a hot take. That is a hot take.
Yeah.
My take is that Ashton Genty is the best player in this class, and it's not even close.
No, that's totally fair. That's why I want him on the Cowboys.
I think Ashton Genty to me is, I don't know. He's not as good as Saquon coming out. I think he's better than Bijan coming out. I think you could put like all pro grade on him coming out and feel comfortable. That's how good I think Genty is.
So here's my reasoning behind my take on Henderson and Genty, because I want Genty on the Cowboys. My concern is that our O-line is going to absolutely screw him like the Steelers did to Najee Harris, and we're gonna be in 5 years and we're gonna be looking at this guy like, oh, he stinks, like we're saying about Najee. But in reality, if Najee had an O-line like the Eagles, he'd be running for 2,000 yards a year. The dude's a beast, but he doesn't have that, and he runs into his own lineman half the time, just like. You could say any of our running backs last year. Rico, though, especially. Once the line started opening up some holes, he was running for 100 yards a game, but that only happened for 5 games this year. So no matter where Genty goes, and the O-line needs to be somewhat put together. Like, if a team's take him in the top 10 and their O-line just stinks, the expectations are going to be way too high for that kid, and he's going to come into the league, and he's not going to do what everyone's expecting him to do, I don't think.
I think Yeah, I don't know. Right now, I think with the
There's so many what
recent
ifs.
Raiders moves, I see the Raiders taking him at 6.
Mhm.
I think a lot of people, maybe they're talking about it more now. I would not be shocked if the Bear, like if he fell to 10, if the Bears took him. I think Ben Johnson would absolutely like to kind of create what he did in Detroit with like a dynamic running back. But the beauty about this class is like you said, I'm not saying anyone is better than Genty, but even if you miss out on Genty, you can get a star running back in round
Mhm.
2 or wherever.
Yeah, we haven't even mentioned Omarion Hampton, who has been that number 2 guy to Genty.
I have a first round grade on him. I think he's going to go in the 20s.
Yeah.
There's so many like I feel like we haven't seen so many bell cow running backs coming into this draft. Like usually there are a lot of like your Travion Henderson's going to be your pass catching backs, but these guys could do it all. And like the frame that they have and like their build is just like so ground and pound for you can say the top 5 to top 6 running backs in this class, and it's so fun. Like that's why it's interesting because a lot of these teams, like maybe even the Cowboys or I don't really know about the Bears, like they don't have to rush to take them. Like if you really want, if you think Ashton Genty is that good and you want him, yeah, go ahead. But I think some teams are going to be passing up on these guys just to address other positions.
Yeah, just from the Bears' perspective, I know like all the guys they're bringing in, Jonah Jackson, and if they sign Dahlman, um, they're way better run blockers than they are pass blockers. So
Definitely.
Ben Johnson's going to want to run the. I would be very shocked if one of the first 3 picks the Bears had was not on a running back. But Travion Henderson is the guy I have my either Ohio State running back I'd be happy with. I love Henderson.
Yeah. What about Judkins? Like, what are your thoughts about him? Is there anything you do or don't like about his game?
Yeah, dude, Joe Kids is a beast, man. That guy's just like he ran way faster than I thought. Breaking sub 4.5. Because he's a big dude. He's like over 220.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's just so like if he. Sometimes I wish he seeks contact. Like he does not
Yeah.
try and avoid people. If you're just like waiting in the hole, he's not going to try and outrun you. He'll just try and run straight through your face. I love the mentality. Maybe it's not good for his overall shelf life in the league, but the dude can play, and he's way more fast. He tested way faster than I thought, and I think that helped him. I think that's a sneaky guy that could potentially sneak in the first round,
Yeah.
maybe.
So you see what about 3 running backs going in the first?
You're probably
I have
Genty,
2.
Omarion.
I think Hampton's almost a lock to me to go in the first. I think
I think
there's
so, too.
too many teams who seem like a good fit for him. Um, but dude, just like we're saying, the second round is guys that probably in other classes would have a first round grade. That are just gonna fall there. Judkins, Caleb Johnson's another good one. I don't like him as much just because he's not super fast, and I think you can see that on tape. But he kind of reminds me of like Montgomery, where I feel like he'll be like a really good NFL running back, but maybe not like the All Pro running back, but like a solid guy you'd want in your backfield. Henderson, Judkins, um, kind of a guy that's coming out of nowhere. The dude from Virginia Tech, Tootin. Oh my God, he blew the doors off the combine. But I was watching him before the combine. I really liked his tape a lot.
Yeah.
Go for it.
One more. Tight ends.
Yeah.
Great class, great class.
Yeah. There are a couple like deep guys that obviously aren't getting that hype like TJ or Tyler Warren and Colson Loveland. How do you see? Let's talk about fantasy terms here. Like if you're drafting a tight end and you need one, say so I'm in a premium league. I have like a 1.5 premium tight ends. Am I going for a guy maybe Colson Loveland over TJ or Jesus Tyler Warren, or am I just going straight for Tyler Warren, calling it a day?
I'm sorry. What is your question?
So, in terms of fantasy, am I drafting is Tyler Warren my number 1 guy? Am I drafting him first, or am I drafting Colson Loveland first? Because they're 2 different type of players in a way.
They are. I don't think you can go wrong with either of them. I don't. If you sat here and you told me, Luke, I think Colson Loveland is the best tight end in this class, I would say, yeah, that's a good assessment. Either of these guys, it really is going to come down to where they land. I mean, I think fantasy, where you go in fantasies,
Key.
just as important as how good the player is. We've seen so many years where guys go to terrible situations or like places that don't utilize them correctly. But like, I don't know if Colson Loveland falls on the Chargers, dude. Like, I love that pairing with like Jim Harbaugh in that offense with Herbo. Don't have a lot of receivers, but like Tyler Warren if he goes to the Colts and Richardson's their quarterback, I would tell you Loveland is a better pick.
Yeah, of course. I don't know where Tyler's going to land, and I want him to go to the Colts, funny enough. Like, even if AR is his quarterback, I still think he's such a big piece on that offense for them. But I could see Miami, fall to Miami. I could see the Jets, bro. Swear to God. I think the Jets might make a move for him. I wouldn't be shocked.
Jets are my hardest team to pin down in this draft. I really don't know where they're gonna go. I've sent you some options. I think I know you don't like it. I think edge rusher makes a lot of sense. Um
I'll jump off the Fahey.
yeah, I don't know. I think edge rusher makes a lot of sense. I think you have a shot at Mason Graham. I could see Mason Graham potentially just slipping a tiny bit. If he fell to the Jets, that's like run the card up to the podium, right?
Oh, immediately. Immediately. That's why that is my number one right now. Like, if realistically, like if somehow he did fall, I'm giving it maybe a 20% chance that it actually happens. But 3 minutes in, 2 minutes and 55 seconds, you're putting his name in. Like, no doubt about it.
Yeah, there's a few teams in the top 10 where I'm like, I don't know. The Jags are hard to pin down to me.
Jags too. Mm-hmm. You see, I think the Jags are taking him. I think they're taking Graham.
I've shifted my thought on this with just the way their new GM is talking. So the Pats are really going to be the turning point, I guess. Like, who do they take? I could totally see the Jags taking Will Campbell, though. A lot of people aren't talking about him there. They just cut Brandon Scherf. Mitch Morse retired their center. And their GM, the first thing he said when he got up to the podium, James Gladstone, he went up there and said, "We want to build the interior dish for Trevor Lawrence because that's where you got to keep your quarterback clean on the interior." And he made a point to hammer home. Put Will Campbell at guard to replace Brandon Sheriff, you're cooking.
That's true. That is
I
true.
love that fit there. I love that fit. If somehow Travis Hunter fell to them, that'd be sweet, but I don't know if he will. And then, yeah, Mason Graham obviously makes sense. But them and the Raiders, like, Genty, to me, the Raiders makes the most sense, but I don't really know what they're doing there.
I got you. Well, I got one more question here. And one more question. Might be contentious, but which wide receiver are the Chiefs going to have to take this year? Because clearly they can't keep them on the field. They can't keep them out of jail cells. So obviously they're going to have to take a wide receiver. They're losing them. They're dropping like flies off of this team. But in all seriousness, what do you see the Chiefs doing in this draft? Because clearly they have to change in certain areas of this team. You know, they just lost Tooney. What's that? Travis Kelce going to do? I think he's going to come back, but it's still up in the air what he's going to do. You know, they got embarrassed. They got embarrassed by the Eagles in that Super Bowl. What are they going to do in this draft, possibly free agency?
Yeah, it's tough, especially where they're drafting. I've been pinning them to left tackle all offseason. They need a left tackle. Like, they were playing Joe Tooney at left tackle in the Super Bowl because they were desperate, but like I think it's way easier to find a solid guard and put him in there, and then they just haven't been able to identify their left tackle of the future for a while. I think last year they took Kingsley Suamatia. He's probably another guy better kicked inside. So I don't know. Josh Connerly is a name I think to watch there for them. Some people might have Josh Simmons there, but I think, all right, Josh Simmons is another guy. I'm telling you right now, just like Membu when I told Mikey, Josh Simmons, if he is healthy at his pro day and he actually participates, you're going to see him in the top 10 conversation. And that's a guy I would actually love the Bears to take, a guy who's coming off an injury. Maybe he's not ready day one. Braxton Jones replacement, Josh Simmons. Love the dude. The tape's great. Before he got hurt, major injury, but keep your eye out for him the next month or so. Fly up draft boards if he participates in his pro day. He might be the best pure left tackle in this class.
All right. Another year of our teams going for a tackle and addressing that we need tackles or guards.
But the Chiefs, I think they're going O-line. I'd be very shocked if they didn't. It's a pretty deep class there where I think they could get a solid lineman. And then obviously edge rusher. Both teams in the Super Bowl, I would be very shocked if they didn't address their trenches.
Yeah. Definitely.
Who might you anything?
No, that's it, man.
I got something for you, Muller.
For me.
A name I've been thinking about for Dallas. Two names.
Luka?
Tet McMillan, if he's there, would you take him to put on the outside with CeeDee Lamb playing the slot? I think that's a fun fit, personally. And I think he could fall there.
I see. For me, with the Cowboys' first pick, I've bounced back and forth between a running back and a wide receiver.
Jinty's gone. Let's just say Jinty's gone.
Well, I already said I think Henderson's the best one, but no, I agree with. I think Tet would be a great pick for them because you pair him up with CD, and CD needs someone to take the spotlight off them. For the last probably year and a half, he hasn't had that. Like Jalen Tolbert ain't moving the needle. Brandon Cooks ain't moving the needle. What's his name? Retired and now he's unretiring. Ain't moving the needle. Michael Gallup.
Boy.
Yeah, the great red zone player. Just could not keep his knees intact. Yep. For the record. No, I like the Tet pick. If we can get that, I think that would be phenomenal, not only for CD, but for Dak. Give him another option that he can actually trust that's not going to fall over when he's running across the center. Oh, God, it's brutal, dude. It's brutal. Cowboys wide receivers, honestly, it's like we're not allowed to have more than one on the field that can catch a football and run a route. It's insane. So, yeah, to answer your question, yes. If he's there, I would love that.
I think it's a fun fit too, with him primarily playing on the outside. You put CD in the slot. It would give, like you said, if you're going all in, that's a solid move to just give your offense some weapons there for Dak. But Jalen Walker's another name I really like. I don't know if we'll get there. A lot of people talk about him in the top 10. A lot of Parsons do his game. Inside linebacker, plays inside, on the ball, off the ball. Looks way better as an edge rusher in my opinion, but we'll see.
Yeah.
There's two guys like that in this draft, actually, which is crazy. Him and Campbell from Alabama.
Yeah.
Were both.
I like Campbell from Alabama. I watch a lot of Bama games. I've kind of been on him. I've thought he's been one of the better prospects at linebacker coming into this draft. And like you said, he could play on the line as well. He's a game wrecker.
He was recruited as an edge rusher. They had to move him to inside because they had Dallas Turner and Will Anderson playing DN, so they just didn't have enough room for him. So they moved him to inside, and that's where he's been playing. He's probably better off the edge, but some defensive coach will be very happy with him.
Absolutely.
I will say, Eberflus's match with Parsons, I don't know what he's going to do. Eberflus isn't really that creative on the defensive front. Not to scare you, he just doesn't do anything, and his primarily preferred type of edge rusher is a pocket pusher. He likes to dent the pocket. He doesn't the flash. Montez Sweat is perfect for him because he doesn't rack up these gaudy sack numbers, but he disrupts the run game and he just pushes guys in the pocket. So I don't know what he's going to do to. Parsons is going to get his, but he's not very creative on that end of things.
Oh, no, definitely. And he doesn't have to be. When we get Overshown back, which I don't know if anyone saw him line dancing last night, the knee looks fantastic. So I think he's going to be back sooner than expected. But he got asked that same question that you were just talking about last week, and he did say, he's like, why would we move Micah anywhere else? He's the best edge rusher. He gets the most sacks every year. Why would I change anything there? He's going to be an edge rusher. So to answer your question, I think he will be right there on the edge, and he'll be doing what he did last year. I don't think it's going to be like how Dan Quinn was moving him from linebacker. He's covering the slot. He's on the line. I don't think it's going to be anything like that. I think it's going to be pretty straightforward. He's going to be right there, and he's going to be coming after your quarterback all game long.
I just mean I wouldn't expect him to if he's getting doubled and tripled, I wouldn't expect Eberflus to make this major change to get him off blocks better. He's just not. It's just not what he does. Which I don't know how that will work. Maybe Mike is just good enough to potentially just be better than that. But also, I think the biggest upgrade you'll see with Eberflus, his secondary work is incredible. Your safeties and corners are going to be so much freaking better under him.
Yeah, well, hopefully we get one of our corners back, Diggs. We'll see if he ever plays for the Cowboys again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, this has been good.
Yeah, it's good stuff. We got a lot more things to talk about in the future, Lucas. It was good to get our feet wet,
Yeah.
Get back in the draft talk. Obviously, the mock's coming out, so
free agency tomorrow.
Tomorrow. A lot of dominoes.
Keep your eyes peeled. Khalil Mack reunion in Chicago, I think, is pretty likely. Don't be shocked. Okay. I think they're going to try and bring him home, and I think it would be a solid 1 or 2 year deal for him to finish his career there. So
that wouldn't be bad.
No, that'd be good.
Why not?
Yeah.
Bears getting Mack and Dahlman day one. That's my prediction.
I would not be mad about that.
That would be fantastic for y'all.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'm here for it.
Yep. Well, Lucas, thanks again. You're the man, as always. We love having you on. This is the best time of the year for us fans that
have bad teams.
Yeah.
Miserable. Him and I have been hyping up this draft class since I don't know what, end of November.
Yeah, like
It's been a
mid-season.
while. We've been waiting for this moment for about 5 months.
Dude, it's a fun class though. I really like the projections are hard 'cause it's like more about, like we said, team fit than anything else. So it's a really fun class. I think there's a ton of starters in it too.
Yeah,
Even day
day
two,
two,
bro.
Like I feel like we're so focused on watching like that Thursday, like day one, like the round of 32. But once day two comes around, like I'm gonna be tuned in as well. Like there are still a lot of good players that are gonna be left on the board. So receiver, D tackles, yeah, a lot of D tackles, the running backs, of course. So it's gonna be fun, man. I'm so excited. So we're about a month and a half away from the draft, something like that. So, yeah, we'll have you on in the future again. We'll actually go through a mock, do all that fun stuff.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully I'll have one out again this week after we see what happens in the first few days of free agency and where some of these quarterbacks fall. 'Cause like I said, I think that'll dictate everything.
That's exciting.
Can't wait.
I know. Well, Lucas, thanks, my man. You are the best, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, Lukas Berry, recurring special guest. So, Lucas, thanks again, man. We will talk soon.
Sweet. Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
You're welcome, man.
See you, man.
You are welcome, as always.
Later, boys.